Wednesday showed us that when you confine your gladiators in a small little ring, there's no place to hide from one another. Two intense fights for the win saw the leads swap back and forth. What will increasing the skill level with tonight's club and pro classes do to that dynamic? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 8 live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark and Rachel Whiteford. Cameron Aubernon is on social media, along with Ryan Bauer producing, who is using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. You'd be forgiven if you hadn't heard of this circuit, since it doesn't see much in the way of international series visited. So why don't we head to our track guide to find out more about it. Welcome to Knockhill Racing Circuit. Opened in 1974, this place has become perhaps the most famous of Scottish racetracks. It sits a little less than an hour north of Edinburgh, and while the stats may make it seem extremely short, it packs a lot of punch within a lap. The four main layouts have a mere 2 kilometers, or just over 1 mile in length, and a measly 9 to 10 corners. But no two of those turns are alike, and there's an impressive 120 feet of elevation change. Also, a majority of the apexes are taken at medium to high speeds. That makes passing rather tough, but the hairpin at Taylor's is the most likely spot to outbrake someone. Otherwise, you just have to wait for a mistake from your rival. Perhaps the aspect that is most unique here is that the circuit can be run clockwise or counterclockwise. Naturally, this changes the nature of some of the corners, but a few things are the same no matter which way you run it. Duffus Dip is a sketchy one in which it can be hard to judge how fast you can take it. And the chicane, which has become notorious for the way touring cars blast over its curbs, requires incredible commitment from the driver and stability in your setup. Speaking of which, expect to set up your car to have to handle the aggressive curves that guard the insides of pretty much every turn. Knockhill has been long requested by the plentiful Scottish racing fans, and with its arrival in the sim, it's sure to garner even more fans around the world now. Well, DJ, when we talk about pushing the limits, I'd say this track and this car combination pretty much just about pushes what you could run here feasibly.
You are not wrong, Joe. With no traction control, no ABS, these Porsche 992 Cup cars are a real handful around here, and look for a lot of those problem areas really running from the run from Duffus Dip all the way down through the chicane. That's where the massive amount of elevation change really takes place on this circuit. And Wednesday, we saw a lot of drivers struggling there, just stepping a little bit over the line, catching too much curb and finding themselves out. Really, the only major overtaking opportunity that we saw was going into that final corner, Taylor's corner, setting that up and being able to get the run on the whale race straight out of Clark. So look for a good exit out of Clark to really set up that pass. We can occasionally see an aggressive move down into Duffus Dip, but for the most part, that is a one-way street going into there, and it's all about just minimizing those errors.
We saw plenty of those errors before, but that was with the challenge in sport classes. This is the club that we're going to start out with, and eventually off to the pros later this evening. So, Rachel, I mentioned it in the intro. I mean, how does this change things when we start to up the ante? We have drivers who make fewer mistakes, probably a little bit faster. Is it going to make the stakes higher out here?
Absolutely going to make the stakes higher. This is where we think things will get a lot tougher for these drivers. Everyone's a lot faster, so we'll see people going for more opportunities than we didn't see before. And we might even see some more car-on-car action going on. I'm going to be coy about that one because they are faster, they are better, but they're human too and they want to race. This track will bite you if you push too hard.
And we'll see who pushes too hard today, as Albaga's only in 12th after his first lap. I wonder if he can improve that. It is small margins out here as the top 14 are split by roughly a second right now. Oh, Albaga just actually had a spin off screen as we watch Taylor go quicker and take the pole away from Patterson, who has one more lap. Meanwhile, Ken Eskridge on his first flyer here. Looks like, well, actually, no, his first 2 laps were deleted. So the 06 has really got to work on this last time around and make sure it is clean, DJ, especially at a track like this. We saw last time passing here, not the easiest, and unfortunately, Eskridge is going to have to start from the back.
Yeah, going up through Butchers and chicane there, one of those areas that I talked about. And yeah, passing very, very difficult, even in that heavier braking zone of Taylor's. It is not the easiest thing to get done. You've got to be very, very careful and really make sure that you have a full high percentage move to be able to make. Otherwise, you're going to have a little bit of that door banging that Rachel was talking about.
Watching to see who can finish here. Kevin Douglas has still got one more lap to go actually right now. Otherwise, the laps are so short. Most have finished here quite early. I see Kevin Haman and the 247 still out there trying. This is Kevin Douglas currently on screen in the 810 down through Butchers and into the chicane. Took a little bit of extra curb, but thankfully did not spin the car. Right now sits in 17th, and I was talking about those small margins here, Rachel. It is 12 thousandths for Kevin to make up a spot.
Yeah, and this is how small it can really get. We look at that 1 second bracket, 47.5 up to a 48.5. It's 3/4 of this field. That is 15th place. So this is really tight territory. These guys are going to really have to find everything out of this track to get anywhere.
Douglas does not improve, unfortunately. Will stay in 17th. Haman will be the next one out in the 247 as he exits Taylor's. As the driver flies it up the hill, let's see if he can actually get one to set. Yes, a 49 flat, which is going to put him in 20th. And he is the only driver that was left able to set a time here. So before we head to the grid, we do want to have a mention about the social media here for the PCA, because their social media offers in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To subscribe, key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing. So the grid for today has Garrett Taylor starting on the top spot. Michael Patterson will begin in second. You've got Terrence Tong starting in third. Fabio Andrada will be fourth, followed by Logan Grado in fifth. After that, Gary Reese on the outside of row three will be followed by Ben Leung in seventh. And Aaron Nations starting eighth today. You've got Joachim Baker in ninth and DJ Volker Krebs rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Duncan James, and to his outside, it is Tamer Albaga, a very lowly start for him in that 043. He'll be one to watch. David Glenn will be in 13th, followed by Dean Chapman, with Sean Murphy in 15th and Andrew Elsom 16th. The row behind them will be Kevin Douglas and Bruce Robinson, with Richard Franco and Kevin Haman rounding out your top 20, Rachel.
After that, it's Trey Davis in 21st with Patrick Gill in 22nd, and unfortunately we saw him just there, not getting any times in. Ken Eskridge in 23rd and last.
About the same as what we saw in the challenge class. So it's pretty comparable to what we experienced. We'll see how many of the pros show up, as it looks like we are heading off into the start here. And it is 70 degrees out on the track, DJ, so it is relatively cool, which you'd kind of expect at this place.
Yeah, indeed. And what that's going to mean, Joe, is that on these first couple of laps, it will be a little bit sketchy, specifically in that trouble area from Duffus Dip all the way to the chicane. Watch for drivers to back off a little bit, be a little bit careful, and not to go full send on this opening lap.
So as we wait for the rest of them to grid up, just a couple cars, once they're all out there, then they will take off for these 40 minutes. We're looking at close to 50 laps that these drivers will be doing. That is, you'll be circulating many times, but also there is a pit stop. We must remind you, they will have about 30 minutes of fuel. Some went as far as, I believe it was almost 37 minutes before they stopped before, and eventually they all had to come in, but fuel saving could get you quite a few extra laps. I think we're just waiting on Albaga and Robinson. The 043 very much out of position, considering Tamer is leading the points championship right now. So this is, he's second in the points championship, but he won the previous race, pardon me. Regardless, point is, he's not usually starting from the mid-pack here. And it looks like we have everybody out there. We should hear the engines now start to rev for race number 6 in the PCA Sim Racing Series 8 here at Knockhill. And the green flag is out. Taylor off the line is much stronger than Patterson. Looks like Michael trying to maybe cover off Tong a little bit. No, he's going to stay off the left-hand side. Tong almost gets into the side of him, and Andrade goes completely off the course for some reason, just straight lines it. Patrick Gill also has a bit of an issue, but Andrade is the only one that goes off into the kitty litter, DJ.
And he has towed. He is effectively out of this race. He had a little bit of a weird start there. I saw him actually sliding backwards as the lights were coming on, so I wonder if there's a mechanical issue there that happened for Andrade.
We'll have to check on that a little bit later as we hop on board with Gary Reese here in 5th place. It is still Taylor leading with an excellent start off the line and getting himself plenty of room. But Reese still trying to challenge on the likes of Grado and Tong, almost getting to the back of that 388 here, already completing the first lap, Rachel.
Yeah, big run here. We're going to see Terrence Tong on board, and machine is shaking now. I'm pretty sure that's the force feedback. Oh, no, he actually has a force feedback rig, I think, and it's going to be bouncing a lot here at this track. It is incredibly undulating, this rough track. It is constant curves, and these cars will be all over the place. Like, he will be tired, especially with a wheel like that. His arms and muscles are going to be sore after this. Never let anyone say sim racing is not tiring.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. But it looks like Volker Krebs is our latest to be off at the chicane. He'll get back on without hitting anything, thankfully, but he falls to the very back of the field, barring Andrade, who's still in pit lane. 2 laps and 1.3 seconds, the difference between Taylor and Patterson. He is absolutely running away with it. And if you're Elbaga and out of position, that's horrible news, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly is. You do not want to see Taylor up ahead as we ride on board with Sean Murphy right now. A little bit of a train in front of him. That's Dean Chapman and David Glenn. A little bit varying lines. They are going down through Duffus Dip. You've got to be careful doing that. You don't want to get too far offline. You'll clobber these curbs too much and find yourself out in the kitty litter. Oh, somebody off in front.
And I think that was Elbaga, actually. Oh, no. This race is falling apart. For our previous round's winner, the 043 makes his way back onto the track. Let's see what cost him here. Pretty much on his own, Rachel, and it's those curbs again.
The curbs are killer at Knockhill. He clipped the wall there with the rear, but I think he'll be all right. He's out of position hugely, but the curbs really are Knockhill.
Well then, we continue to watch them fly through Duffus Dip. This is quite a train that is forming behind 5th place here that we're looking at. Ben Leung leads Grotto Nations and Backer there. And the 330, we hop on board with Yoakum as he trails behind, not nearly close enough to attack, but for a while, Logan there, a couple cars up, was getting near the bumper of Leung. They now break 4 Taylors. And an early turn in here, DJ, unfortunately causes Leung to go a little wide.
Yeah, it does indeed. That's going to hurt him there a little bit. Watch for Grotto to maybe be able to try to get a little bit of a pounce as they go. Coming down the start-finish straight right now. Nothing doing there, but they're certainly going to try.
Back through those first couple corners once again. Really pushing the limits. You can see how close they get to that gravel on the outside as it just sucks the car in as soon as you touch it, but they have to flirt with it to find that speed. Back with Krebs once again, and this is way down the order since he had that early incident coming through this very corner here. This time he's successful, but he is sandwiched between Franco and Elbaga right now, Rachel.
Yeah, he really is, and he's not got a lot of room to play with here because he has to make sure he defends as much as he attacks here. And they are going to be really going for this thing as 21st place. How the mighty... Oh my gosh! He's off again!
Oh, into the tire barrier. And there is somebody else off, Aaron Nations, who was also well up there. We were watching his battle a little bit earlier, checking to see what exactly happened. Oh, just started to spin it, and I don't think anybody actually touched him.
No, it looks like he got through that cleanly, Joe, but he's going to lose a whole bucket load of positions, unfortunately.
Yeah, down to 21st. I mean, that's been it's been a complete repeat for everybody as we watch with Logan once more. This has been Leung, and he's going to go to the inside into the Taylor's hairpin. Can he get the launch off the turn, though? No, it's going to be a drag race, Rachel, to see who can get to the first corner first.
Yeah, it really is, and they're so close here, and I think it's going to be favor to the driver on the outside. Just far enough ahead, he'll get the advantage on the switchback that will really put him back in place.
Oh, he's ambitious down to McIntyre. He's going to get to the inside after he was fully behind. Ben Leung still carrying on side by side through the chicane. Somebody finally has to give way, and it's going to be Ben. This brings Duncan James into the fray. Joachim behind him just put a wheel off. He starts to fall backwards after he was gaining hand over fist. And look at this. Teeth just bared, ready to attack on the 11 once again, DJ.
I was going to say it looked like Ben Leung got a pretty good run, but now it's going to be Duncan James sending a big one down to the inside of Leung. That was a very, very aggressive overtake, but able to get it done.
Last spot for the top 5 is a hot potato right now, and looks like Grotto is going to have to fend off Duncan James as they come down through Duffus Dip once again. Into the braking for McIntyre, differing lines for various cars in this group. Now also David Glenn has caught them. The continued fighting has slowed them up immensely here, Rachel.
Yeah, it really has. And, you know, we talk about people playing hot potato with a hand grenade because no matter what happens, everyone's going to toss it around and most likely everyone will blow up. This is playing hot potato with a golden hand grenade. Everybody wants it, but it's still going to blow everybody up. And in this case, yeah, this fighting is drawing everybody else behind them into this. And this is what they really have to be aware of. The more they fight here, the more it's going to bring a lot more people into this thing. And we've also had Elbaga has retired.
Oh, well, and the championship, that is really going to hurt because he's already missed a round with Winton. So he didn't have a drop week in his hands. This will be another 0 for him. So, of course, Fabio also is gone, was not able to get the car back out on the track. Hopefully we'll get some news behind the scenes of what exactly happened to that car. Meanwhile, this is your leader, Garrett Taylor, 3.2 seconds ahead of Patterson. Now, a pretty good distance, but not gaining as much, DJ, as he did in those first 2 laps. It looks like Patterson's at least slowing the drop.
Yeah, he's at least holding it on here a little bit, and that could be just a little bit of the temperature coming to favor him a little bit more. It has increased up by about 2 degrees here at this point, so that could be explaining Patterson's increased pace.
Still trying to pull away from Tong behind him, who's about 4.5 down the road as well, as we look back at that fight that has certainly been one of the most entertaining in this race. Leung is dropping off of Duncan James, and now we look at Sean Murphy as well. And Sean currently running in 11th. Now, I thought he was way farther down the order before that. Must have just been attrition that has helped him out. He's up 4 so far. Well, and there he gets another one, because off track is Joachim Baker.
Well, that is huge there. Joachim Baker has to hold and wait. That's the worst feeling in the world, watching everyone go past him, but he gets back on and going again. Look at that car moving. The 330 machine is going to have a really rough day. We'll see the replay here. And what happened to him, we saw him just come through there on the screen. Here he comes into the corner, and the back end stepped on him, and round he went. This has been biting a lot of people.
Wow, looked very early in the turn. I wonder if he just sent it in too hot and tried too hard to make it through. There's a lot of curb there for trying to see who we just saw just barrel over that. That's Duncan James in the 75. Was being aggressive to try and keep up with Logan in the 11 ahead of him. We hop on his roof cam, watching to see how he handles the exit of Taylor's, trying to late apex that uphill corner. Doesn't seem to have given him a whole lot in comparison to Logan. So they cross the line to start lap 12 now amongst them. Probably could see a few drivers who wanted to risk it, maybe pit now, DJ, but I anticipate most are going to try and go as far as they can.
Yeah, that seemed to be the strategy that we saw last time out, Joe, is just try to extend it as much as possible. Or if you're able to find yourself out in clean air and be able to get that done, that may be the only real solution to try to come in a little bit early. But even with that, because of the short nature of this lap, I anticipate everybody trying to extend as long as possible.
Well, it's about to become a conveyor belt as Garrett Taylor is close to catching the first of the lapped cars, Richard Franco. And I always love the description that I got from Christian Challoner, one of our fellow commentators over at GSRC. He said, this is essentially squiggly Bristol, Rachel.
You ain't wrong. As the native Brit here, yeah, it has a similar reputation. A very, very similar reputation. It breaks cars, it breaks wheels, it breaks drivers. It is a tough, tough circuit.
So we come back to the battle for fifth once again. Fredo's starting to pull away a little bit. Now his teammate Ben Leon is starting to gain bit by bit. The 290 closing in to see if he can get on the attack of the number 75, but he's going to have to be closer than this. We've seen drivers be right up on the bumpers of each other, DJ, and still not able to pass, just like we see here between Glenn, Chapman, and Murphy.
And this was all set up by David Glenn having a little bit of an off out of Clark's, and they were almost running 3 wide down the railway straight, but Glenn able to hold the car back together. It did bring Chapman and Murphy better into this equation, made it certainly tighter.
Murphy poking and prodding, showing his nose. Nothing doing yet. Carolina driver just kind of hovering back there, waiting for a chance, and maybe that's it for Chapman, as Glenn was very slow through the chicane. Despite the sudden close of distance, Chapman can't seem to find a way past. And, oh, did we have a problem with Kevin Douglas? We did. Don't need to go to it. He had a simple spin himself. Ooh, and heavy defense down to the Taylors. I don't know that's the right line there, Rachel.
It's a creative one, that's for sure, but it's going to work in this case, and we'll keep him in that spot. So useful to do it there because he knows he can basically make sure he controls that run to the corner.
Yeah, it's kind of surprised me. He was so shallow. I thought for sure he was going to be too slow off of it, but nope, he's got it good. Behind them, you can see Elsom and Gill starting to gain just a little bit, becoming something of a 5-car fight here. For a bit, there is Elsom in the 22, the orange and red machine, who we hop on board with, just behind Sean Murphy. And yeah, we've had a few offs, DJ, but I will say this has seemed like they have actually done a lot better than the previous two classes to keep the racing very clean.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. We haven't seen any of that sort of dreaded door banging necessarily, although we still do have some time left in this race. Murphy here with a good run coming up in that 200 machine. He's going to back off a little bit. That's a lot of what you've seen today. It's a lot of discretion, proving the better part of valor, waiting for those high percentage moves to take place.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder if some of these drivers, Rachel, are just waiting for somebody ahead to make a mistake, knowing that's going to be the easiest pass I've got.
100%, and that's the best way to race Knockhill. You can save your big dollar moves for the end when it matters. Earlier on, just let them race and let them make their own mistakes. This track will chew them up in time.
Ooh, Aaron Nations with another one. He had a spin earlier. This time, I think he actually found the wall outside of the chicane. So a driver who started up in 8th is all the way down into 20th. But look at this train coming up the front stretch and down into the first turn. Looks like Glenn is going to... Oh, well, I thought he was way too shallow into there, DJ, but he somehow still made the turn. And they have quite a variance between each of the 5, as some seem to like to take it strong into McIntyre's and others try to kind of back it up.
Yeah, indeed, and it's really all just about trying to carry as much speed through Duffus Dip as possible or setting yourself up for the run through Butchers and the chicane. And we're seeing various degrees of efficacy there from both of them. Still looking like Chapman here, just hounding in those tire tracks of David Glenn, seeing what he can do.
Still covering off that inside. David Glenn does not want to leave the door open. So far, Chapman has not been able to get the invitation to be able to step through, so... will it have to be a case that he barges in, knock the door down, or is he going to maybe wait for the pit stops, or simply hope for that mistake that we mentioned a little bit earlier as he gains down into McIntyre, gets almost within a car length, now up through the chicane, doesn't seem to be able to hold on to it. So certain parts, Rachel, does seem like that 013 is a little quicker than the 172.
I think he might be slightly, yeah, and it's going to be a tricky one to see what he'll do with this. Chapman really has to find an opportunity, but if he just keeps the pressure up, Glenn won't make the mistake.
And still Glenn goes to the inside very early. What if that's just his line, DJ, if he just likes to get that shallow entry? Because he certainly wasn't under attack that time from Chapman. He still was turning in super, super early.
Well, that's one of the great things about Taylor's is the fact that you can take multiple lines through that corner carrying speed at corner entry or corner exit, and it can really just suit to be whatever it is your driving style. So I think there from him, that's exactly what it is, Joe.
Once again, through the chicane, everybody keeping it on the island, at least for the time being. And just looking at my timing towers, Chapman follows behind Glenn, kicking up a little dirt that time out of Clark, but not seeing battles up in front of them. Really, these are our best ones coming into the hairpin yet again. Glenn sure has that exit down, just seems to be able to streak away at will from Dean Chapman, but Chapman also successfully fending off Sean Murphy. And this race carries on close to the halfway mark, so maybe we'll see a few takers, Rachel, who are feeling stuck here and figure they got nothing else to lose.
It is definitely the track position gaining or clean air gaining opportunity I think some people will take. Maybe some guys at the rear of this grouping will take the opportunity like Murphy or Elsom. Could be a good call for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It just depends on if they feel like there could potentially be an opening. I'm looking at the track map. I do see a couple, but they're going to be small, I'm sure, around here. It's now up to 5 full cars, maybe even 6. Siokam in the 330. No, he's a lap down, so he's not part of this fight. He's just trying to carry on and not get in their way and collect whatever positions he might. So they once again navigate their way down the hill towards one of the lowest parts on the track, where it then rises up over the chicane. And everybody has been so good in this pairing and this group here, DJ, because yes, they're under immense pressure, but other than just maybe kicking up a tiny bit of gravel here and there, I'm not seeing any of them put a foot wrong.
Yeah, we really haven't seen that many mistakes here out of these drivers, and kicking up a little bit of gravel, that's just fine. It's when you get that full tire width off of the gravel and completely lose that contact patch with the asphalt that you start to run into problems. So these drivers really knowing exactly what the limits of their cars are and absolutely using them to perfection.
So Taylor has lapped up to 17th. That's Kevin Douglas next up that he wants to try and get by. You can just see him disappear over the hill and then back down towards the first corner. Douglas is honestly in his own little battle with Trey Davis, so Kevin's probably not going to want to give up the time on this one. Davis not doing too bad, though. He's up 5 positions in this race. There you see him on screen, up from 21st and into 5th. We'll see if he can retain the spot over Kevin for the remainder of this one, because the 810 certainly does look pretty strong here. But we come again once more to Glenn leading Chapman, who gets a little closer this time, but well, close only works in horseshoes and hand grenades, as we go back to the explosion metaphor.
It's a good one to use sometimes, especially at Knockhill. There's a Scottish sport in the Highland Games called the caber toss, where big burly men in kilts will try and lob a stick as far as they can. And by stick, I mean a tree trunk. Well, relatively large log. And it has a lot of similarities to Knockhill. A lot of things flapping in the breeze and heavy objects getting yeeted into different directions. It was tenuous, but I went there.
No, I
just wanted an excuse to mention kilts. I mean, it's another reason.
It's more impressive that they're tossing cabers and not capers, because, I mean, those things are tiny. Kind of delicious. But as we watch these two fight for what is currently 8th place, David Glenn and Dean Chapman have been stuck together with no chance of trying to switch them around. But we theorized that Sean Murphy might be among those that would take an early pit stop. DJ, that came true. Whoa, somebody's off track there.
That was Chapman off track, actually, and that's going to allow for Andrew Elsom to get up on by him, and then now it's going to be Patrick Gill having a little bit of a look. But yeah, as you said before we saw that off, Sean Murphy coming down pit lane, so he is the first one of these drivers to blink on lap 23.
Oh, after all that hard work trying to pressurize Glenn, it was Chapman that buckled. So we watch them cycle by the pit entry with none of them coming in. So nobody responding to Murphy, who is in quite a bit of clear air here in 17th. So this is actually looking like it might work out beautifully. So will anybody finally get the heads up here and try to start pitting in to see if they can do the same? All of them successfully up and over. No, not all of them. Oh, no! Big wreck here for Patrick Gill. And that was Chapman for the second time having it off. This time, though, he unfortunately collected another innocent victim.
Oh, that is rough to see there. Oh, gosh, what a mistake to have happen. That just really... God, that just completely changed the dynamic of the race in that section, I think. Oh, wow.
Chapman given a black flag for that incident, unfortunately, for causing a spin/damage for another driver. He did get on the radio immediately to apologize for that one. Obviously, feels pretty embarrassed about compromising somebody's race like that. Patrick Gill is also naturally in after that, being the other one involved in that, so he's probably going to be taking his spare car and get back out on track. So, as all this has been happening, I'm looking up towards the front, DJ. When did Duncan James start to catch Gary Reese? Oh, no! Oh, and he just went into poor Patrick Gill as soon as he came out of the pit lane to take his repair.
Oh my goodness, everything's starting to fire off here and explode. And Joe, to answer your question, that battle has been slowly but surely creeping its way down over time. Reese just pulling in the tenths of a second on Terrence Tong over the last couple of laps.
It's gone back up to a second now, so it looks like he may have either had a little mistake or just lost out. Maybe through that traffic trying to get by Gill there. And coming off of the hairpin, another of them trying to get by Gill. Thankfully not hitting him this time. That was Logan Grotto in the 11. Ben Leung, the next one to try and go by him. Also, let's see, did he take his spare car? Yes, he did. Patrick Gill is in his second car, which means if he does have damage to repair, he's going to have to come in and sit patiently. Well, Leung wasn't patient, Rachel. He's off into the gravel.
Yeah, this is why patience is the one thing people don't realize they need at Knockhill. It is a very aggressive track, and it will haunt you if you do not behave well here, because this place is so unforgiving. And yeah, you go a little bit too hard, and it will just spit you out off a corner and into the gravel traps, which will take a while to get out of.
It took a while for people to get chewed up and spit out, but it is happening now. It just seems that people had to finally run out of talent here, as Duncan James is the next one pitting in. He wants to try and overtake Reese on strategy, and that might actually be the call, because Reese is in the midst of traffic right now, and it is slowing him up tremendously.
Yeah, that was Dean Chapman. He was trying to get around there, and it really, really blunted his momentum. He lost quite a bit of time. It looks like about 0.5 of a second to Terrence Tong just over the course of those two sectors, Joe.
Oh, but James is in for a long time. Oh, he's got a black flag. Duncan James is serving a black flag. And was this for incident limits? I think it was for incident limits. I don't see any message from the stewards on him.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It's an incident limit one. Chapman has a one, but that other one for James was definitely incident limit.
Well, it would have been a very clever strategy, but we unfortunately missed the forest for the trees there, and he had to come in and try and clear that before he could even think about trying to overtake for that fourth position. Aaron Nations, meanwhile, is down here in 15th, and he is on Sean Murphy. Now, Murphy is back there because of the pit stop, but Nations is back there because of off-tracks, DJ, so two very different reasons, and unfortunately, Aaron's still got to make that pit stop.
Yeah, indeed he does, and that's just going to put him down the order. But Aaron is currently in a battle right now with Bruce Robinson, who is out on track with him about a second behind. Duncan James, by the way, the latest to dive down pit lane.
And, well, he was just in there. Oh, okay. He is serving the black flag now. So that was his pit stop before, and now he has to come in and out and take his drive-through penalty for the incidents. Ben Leung now pits in from the 290 car. So let's see where he will return. I think he'll be out ahead of Murphy pretty easily. Yes, he is. So he now takes over the role, Rachel, of the highest driver to have pitted.
Yeah, we're starting to see that stuff cycle through. We've got time left, I think, maybe another 7 minutes probably for people to be pitting in. I think after that it will be all done. But this one has been a really one-horse show. Garrett Taylor, 6.2 seconds clear, which is a big amount in a field with this talent. Patterson in second place. Huge gap to Tong. This is ridiculous now.
A few more have lost that lead lap because of the pit stops, but we're down to only 10 drivers on the lead lap. Some of them will probably get those back once Garrett grabs his fuel and gets back on the circuit. As, another one's in. It is going to be Kevin Haman, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, indeed. Kevin's going to be coming down pit lane. We continue to watch Reese and Tong here. I would not be surprised to see Gary Reese maybe think about coming down, but we'll have to see what he does. Looks like neither of them are going to fade down the lane here, so these leaders just wanting to stay out as long as possible, run those fuel tanks to dry.
Indeed, and back on the circuit he goes, and on his way, but certainly not close to either Murphy or Leung. He'll be the third highest driver to have stopped. See how that all shakes out once the pit cycle finishes up. Andrew Elsom going to be the next one. Another that was towards the back of that multi-car pack that was battling. Looks like Ken Eskridge is in. So, yeah, they are trickling in one by one. That's one thing I do like about these very short laps here, Rachel, is tracks like that really open up the pit strategy. It's not just everybody in at the same time.
Yeah, it does, and you've got an opportunity for a couple of laps leeway because of how short it is, but I think the big thing here is it is very much like Bristol in that regard, we mentioned earlier. You are going to drop a lap pitting, which is not very usual for road course races.
Yeah, thankfully no full course cautions here unless it's towards the start and there's a track blockage, which we have seen before, but thankfully we're well past that point today. And flying through the chicane once more. David Glenn is now in. I think some of the drivers starting to respond to one another. And, up and ahead of this, there's a wreck with Murphy hitting Elsom. We couldn't quite see it on the screen, but down into the hairpin. Murphy just turned the 22. I wonder if he's going to be able to get away with that or if the stewards are going to slap him with a black flag because they usually don't look kindly on passes that happen due to contact. Here's the replay here, DJ.
Yeah, that's Murphy there in that Irish livery as he comes up and over the chicane, going down now into Clark. We're going to ride on board the hood here. Let's see what happens. Able to get it through there. This was up into Taylor, so he's going to have a moment to breathe here before he gets it going. Now, that's some lap traffic directly up ahead of him, and then here it comes. Looks down to the inside, tries to go around. Little bit of a touch and a little bit of an around.
Just nudged him, and unfortunately Rubbin isn't usually racing here on the roadside. But another car in. Who was that? That was Trey Davis and Michael Patterson. Michael Patterson takes his service, is back out. He's about a second longer than some of those that have pitted in before. But he is now easily going to be the highest driver to have stopped himself, and he remains within the top 5 after that one. We're close to that 10-minute mark, Rachel. We should see the last of them entering within a couple more minutes.
Yeah, we really should, and this will have the cycle completed for us today. And I don't think it's going to really change our racing order very much. We're not seeing enough guys who went off strategy enough around each other to change that. So we'll have to see what it comes out to, but the field is getting itself sorted for the final run.
Man, the gap between Taylor and Reese, who is currently in second place, is 24 seconds, but it was Patterson who was chasing him before. And there you see Logan Grado come on in. He was trying to battle for second with Gary. So he'll give way to Patterson, who carries on by. What about Terrence Tong, though? Is he going to be able to come out ahead of him? Not sure that he will. There is Tong on your screen right now. The 11 is rolling. Tong is coming up the pit exit. There is Logan right there, and he just ekes by DJ, but can he hold on to it?
Well, let's see if he is. This isn't the part of the track where you can normally get an overtake done, but he's going to have to try to if he wants to try to push his way forward.
So close between them, and now we hop on board with Krebs, who has yet to stop. So he is part of this fight for position, but he is off strategy compared to these two. Doesn't really need to and want to fight them, but is certainly getting an eyeful. Rachel, let's see if Grado makes the move. No,
he won't go for it there. We get to see on board with Tong here. Look at that, how close they are together. Wow, that is tight on the racetrack, and they are pushing this really, really hard here. Tong is holding it. Oh,
Grado's in.
Through that? Yeah, Grado dipped.
Black flag, another black flag. I believe this is another incident limit
Confirmed.
problem. So yeah, it just, oh no, he did stop in his pit stall. And it's the black flag has been served. Interesting.
Stop and go penalty.
Yeah. Okay, so had to come in and give a stop and go. Usually that's a drive-through. Not sure what's going on there. We still need Gary Reese to stop and Bruce Robinson. That's it. Last two that are required to get fuel service to make it to the finish. And we're down to about 8 minutes to go. With Taylor having been in and out, it's about 6 seconds over Patterson. So not a monstrous lead, but certainly is looking very handy. Taylor, you can see him on screen, just putting a lap on Bruce Robinson. So Bruce probably going to wind up about 2 laps down. And Volker Krebs is in. That's also for a black flag. And I see Patrick Gill with a black flag. My goodness, Rachel, they are racking those up.
I think we just reached that point in the race where everyone's hit the incident limit, clipping corners, cones, everything. Everyone's just gone a little bit too far. They've picked up those 1Xs, they've hit that 12 limit. We might even see the leader come in, who knows?
Well, if he does, that will hand the lead over to Patterson, so he's got to make sure and keep it clean. We're hearing that Krebs's was speeding on pit entry for his penalty. So not everybody is over the incident limit. Some of them having trouble trying to match where the car needs to be as you slow up for the pits. Robinson finally in as we watch Murphy here in his own little fight. This is trying to catch up with Elsom, but they are currently split by Garrett Taylor, our leader. And that certainly is going to be a frustration for the 200 machine, but it could also help him out, DJ, depending on what happens to Elsom. He doesn't need it. Elsom is off.
Yet another driver falling afoul of these monstrous curbs around here. Joe, I think we jinxed this race. We were talking about how clean this was. Everything firing off here at the end.
It all had to come in the second act, apparently. So the action is thick and fast now. Maybe not for Taylor, who we continue to watch up at the front. It's now down to 5.6. It was at 6 seconds before. I wonder if that spin, Rachel, maybe caused him to check up a little bit so that he didn't run into Elsom.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity of that, and I think you want to make sure you're staying a little bit safe here. The times these guys in front have got, they could afford to. Rejoining could have been a really awkward moment there.
And ironically, that's Elsom again. So if it did slow up Taylor, it slowed up Patterson almost an exact lap later. So that's back up to actually 7.2 seconds. It actually increased between the pair of them from that. But man, Patterson is sitting pretty, DJ. He's got 14 seconds over Tong.
Yeah, indeed he does, and he is going to be very, very happy to do that. He can probably back off a little bit here. Doesn't have to be nearly as aggressive through traffic. He'll definitely be able to calm down a little bit.
We're down to 7 drivers left on the lead lap. David Glenn is the last of them. I'm willing to bet many of the cars getting lapped have done so because of those black flags. Do have some drivers that have done very well. There are a number that have gained positions. Glenn up 6, Sean Murphy up 7, up 9 for Kevin Hammond, but all have been absolutely stopped by Ken Eskridge, who didn't set a qualifying time, but even still, he's made up 14 spots from 23rd here, Rachel.
Yeah, that's what can happen at Knockhill. If you don't make mistakes, you don't get off tracks, you don't get a penalty, and you just keep the wheels. In fact, there's a sign around here. What was that sign we saw earlier? We talked about it before the broadcast.
Blackcircles.com? Yeah.
Blackcircles.com being a tyre manufacturer in Scotland or a tyre shop. Yeah, you keep the black circles on the black flat thing, and you're good to go.
Explaining racing to an alien, I suppose. As Garrett Taylor now comes around the chicane and into Clark once more. Now the next one that he has to lap is Glenn, that you can just about see down the way. Oh, and Aaron Nations have a problem there. Yeah, Aaron Nations had a big off again. Certainly not the first for him. He falls to 14th.
And so he's going to have to try to come it back a little bit from that. A rough day out there. Looks like Bruce Robinson also having an off in the back down in 17th place.
Just keep looking back at the impressive speed of this 529 car. And in fact, he's got, I believe, a 10th over the next fastest driver in terms of fastest lap. That doesn't give you any bonus points here in PCA, but it is certainly a feather in your cap. And we'll have to ask him if he comes and joins us afterwards, whether this was easy to him or if he felt like it was quite difficult. He was our points leader and is our points leader coming into this race. He will be on the way out, and it's a huge points lead over El Baga at this point. In fact, Patterson, Rachel, I think, is going to jump up into second place as he sits on track right now.
Yeah, I suspect he will based on this running order. That will be a huge help to the 29 car, which will really, of course, go to the last 2 rounds here. And setting this thing up as it up the inside, we look at, and it's a nice, simple-looking move. I think he will have to run here.
Yeah, this is Krebs on Douglas. I think Douglas lifted a little there. Yep. And he's going to let him by. So Krebs back into 12th. He's still down 2 from where he started. He was one of our first to fall victim to the chicane today. Trey Davis down there in 16th, also up 5, but down a lap and close to 2 laps, actually.
Yeah, and he's in a nice little fight here with Joachim Baker right now. Those two running about 0.6 of a second away from each other as they work their way in these closing stages of the race. And every point for position, every position worth points here, Joe. So definitely wants to try to get a little bit of a move up, and they're catching up to Aaron Nations in front of them. So this could be a 3-way battle before the end.
Give me a watch on the timer and where the leader is so that we can get a sense of how many laps are left, because the clock is very close to 0. There he is around Clark Curve right now. If he's a minute 30 or less, then we are 2 laps to go. More than that, it's going to be 3, and I think it's going to be 3 here. Yep.
That looks about right here for the timing we have. So 3 laps will still be a good amount of time, but it's 3 laps. Garrett Taylor has to proceed around here and just put laps in. He's had a flawless run in this race, really showing his speed. Patterson as well in second. We can't really let it up here, but 1, 2, and 3 have not changed position. Taylor, Patterson, and Tong, but Tong has done the most fighting. Yeah,
and got to give him credit for what he's had to deal with from behind, and has just shaking them all. Now, Gary Reese is still about 2.5 seconds behind, so he's within threatening distance if Tong makes a mistake, but the 388 has certainly kept cool despite many fast drivers breathing down his neck. So we will get 2 to go this time by for Garrett Taylor. Crosses the line, which comes early. There it is right there. And about 1 minute left on the clock for him. 8 seconds down to Michael Patterson, as Taylor is looking to take his 4th win of the season here at Knockhill, and that is out of 6 rounds, but 5 of which he attended. This is an incredible strike rate, DJ.
Yeah, it really, really is, and it just shows you the outright skill behind the wheel of that 529 machine. To be able to get a win at Knockhill and to be able to keep incidents down, that should be proof enough, but that win rate, absolutely incredible.
Shows why he is leading this championship. White flag is prepared by Barney and is waved for Garrett Taylor. Just one more to go. There it is, as he flies down towards Duffus Dip. Just one last time to have to navigate his way up and down these hills. And he's got a little bit of traffic in front. It's Patrick Gill, but not sure he'll catch him in time. Should hopefully be a clean, smooth sailing race to the finish for him. Our podium winding up exactly where they began, as we mentioned. Even still, we got plenty of fun watching this one today, and we're going to see 20 of our 23 drivers manage to get to the checkered flag. There we go. Out of Taylor's, the final corner for Garrett Taylor. It certainly was Taylor's today. It is victory for the 529 machine in the club class of the PCA Sim Racing Series. Back to
Fantastic run by these guys here. Look at Gary Reese there from 4th place, up 2 spots from 6th. Managed to fight it out with Ben Leon for most of this thing, and he put a good performance on here today to get an advantage there. Reese will come up, and this will be huge for him for the points.
Absolutely. Only 6 drivers left on the lead lap for this race in the end. That is quite the accomplishment at this level of racing. It may be a short lap, but you're up against some very fast drivers, even at this club level, which means it's time to go through our finishing order. As we mentioned, Garrett Taylor took victory, and Michael Patterson followed him home roughly 8 seconds behind. Terrence Tong was 3rd, and Gary Reese was 4th. And it's Ben Leon P5, last one on the lead lap, Logan Grotto. You've got David Glenn in 7th, Sean Murphy, good enough for 8th, 7 positions up. Very awesome job there. And then up 14 for Ken Eskridge without that qualifying time. It was Andrew Elsom, DJ, who rounds out the top 10.
Coming home in 11th, it was Kevin Haman, followed by Volker Krebs, with Kevin Douglas and Aaron Nations able to recover up to 14th after a little bit of a scruffy day. Joachim Baker was 15th, followed by Trey Davis and Richard Franco. The last driver 1 lap down. Bruce Robinson 2 laps down, as was Dean Chapman and Patrick Gill.
Behind them is Duncan James in 21st, 22nd, Tamer Elbaga, and we have Fabio Andrade in 23rd and last, unfortunately for those two.
Yeah, all 3 of them were DNF'd here today. I think they were the only DNFs in this race, but it looks like we've got our winner with us, Garrett Taylor. Garrett, congratulations. As we followed your race, we started to wonder, is this easy for him? So what's the take? Was this a breeze or was this a challenge?
Knockhill is always a challenge. You know, I mean, hands are tired from all that curb slamming you do for the whole race, and I made a couple of mistakes tonight that just didn't hurt me. So
yeah, it looked pretty well in control, at least from our perspective. The big deciding factor, if anything, may have been the lap traffic, which we did catch a couple times, slowing you up slightly and lessening the gap. But other than that, what are your thoughts on how the traffic behaved at this short little circuit?
Oh, they were great. I mean, I didn't have anybody that held me up. Everybody was really courteous tonight. So,
well, that is perfect then. Next time out, though, we head to Monza, almost a complete opposite of this place. Do you think you'll be able to shake them as easily, or is that slipstream going to make it hard to get a distance?
That's a great question. I haven't run Monza before ever, so we'll see how it goes. Might be an off week, but we'll give it a shot.
Well, you're in for a treat. It is a classic. Anybody that you want to thank for today's victory?
You guys, it's really a lot of fun listening to you guys do the broadcast. I always go back and watch them after the race. So
that was Garrett Taylor, who won. Michael Patterson's up next, though. DJ is caught up with our 2nd place finisher.
Michael, a great podium here around a very, very difficult circuit, albeit a little bit of a lonely race for you out there.
Yeah, but hey, I'll take it. I would rather do that than have somebody breathing down my neck the whole race.
I can understand that. I mean, it looked like you had some pretty smooth sailing. Obviously, a little bit of pressure early on from Terrence, but once you just got the pedal down, 17 seconds of a gap. Any secrets you want to share?
I practice with Garrett. How about that? That's disconcerting and a little disheartening sometime to practice with that guy. But hey, he pulled me up faster.
Well, he did indeed. We head to the sort of opposite next time out in Monza. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, I'm hoping for the best. I have to tell you, I am more proud of my 0X here than I am my second place.
Well, 0X is pretty incredible, my friend. Anybody you'd like to thank for the run?
Oh, of course, Garrett himself, my Matrix teammates, and PCA itself for putting these on. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, Michael. That was Michael Patterson, your second place finisher here today. And Rachel, I believe you've caught up with P3, Terrence Tong.
I have indeed. Terrence Tong, a fantastic run today at Knockhill. You had a very busy day, of course, defending the tail end of the podium. What was it like battling the likes of Reese and Leung throughout this thing?
Oh, it was intense. I keep watching the black box and trying to see how close they were, and trying to focus on keeping myself on track, keeping the car in one piece.
It seemed like it was a challenge at times. Just a quick question. Are you running a force feedback sim rig?
Sorry, say again?
Are you running a force feedback sim rig?
Yeah. Oh, no,
Yeah,
force feedback? No, it's just my butt sweating.
You were shaking around there so much, it must be the track.
It's just me getting too nervous, that's all.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Looks like Terrence Tong needs a paddling pool when he races, but anything, how hard was this track compared to somewhere like Monza next week?
I tried a little bit of Monza last night, and that seemed to be very relaxing, more long straight, so that was pretty good. This one is just too intense, too many tight turns, and very, very, very small track, so that was very challenging.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you can do there as well. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah, I would like to thank my wife, always supporting me to do this every Friday night, and also thank to you guys, brilliant interviews, and thanks to all my UCR and Zone 1 friends that helped me to do the practice, even though I'm so busy with tax season.
Oh, I know that feeling. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Terrence Tong. Third place tonight.
Thank you.
And that will wrap up this race, but we have one more to come for this week, and that is the Pro Class. Stick around for more action here in the PCA Sim Racing Series. Welcome back to Knockhill. We're here for the final race of the week in the PCA Sim Racing Series. It's the Pro Class, and they are in their qualifying right now. Last time out, it looked like we didn't have much of a race for the lead, but the mid-pack gave us plenty of action. If anything, it seems like, Rachel, the start of the race being mistake-free is the ultra-essential thing. How many fast drivers did we see fall all the way to the back of the pack because of that?
Oh, a huge amount. And we did see, though, that everyone started dumping it themselves after about halfway. But if you can keep the start clean, you have a really big opportunity. I think if you get some fast guys going backwards early, you can really shake the race up.
Indeed. And right now, here on screen, down into McIntyre's Jacob Schum is going to do his best to try and qualify as high up as he can go. The question is, how high can he? As he currently sits 9th in the points, and last race he actually finished 11th. So he's got a little bit more work to do to wind up in the top 10. So he comes out of the final corner, out of Taylor's and across the line. This is going to be his first timed lap, as everybody in front of him is starting to knock them down. Schum provisionally goes into third, immediately gets bumped by Knockhill, who is our winner from last time out. Pies now goes into second, 5/100ths off of Michael, and that is going to be round 2. No, it's Matthew Siddall, DJ, who puts it up into first now.
Don't blink. These times are coming at you faster than you can imagine right now, in a very, very small gap separating them. The top 9 only separated by a half a second, Joe, and that lap from Siddall is absolutely mega.
So we get the rematch between Pies and Knockhill. So Brody up next as he comes across and was giving us that beautiful shot of himself between the races, flying over the chicane curbs. This is his first flyer, as he just took the green flag. And looks like Knockhill did improve and takes the pole back from Siddall. And Rachel, Matthew botches that second one. It gets deleted. He gets one more try.
Yeah, he does. And Peterson has dumped it as well. And it's going to definitely shake this one up. I really want to see how this one plays out, because if we get some fast guys back in this running order, it's going to be a massive change to the race.
Amarim parked it after only 2 laps. He's in third. Could find himself losing a few more positions. So Travis Brody crosses the line. 47.6. That'll put him into 6th place. Watching to see what Knockhill, he doesn't improve on his last lap. Amarim is parked. So what about Pies on his final flyer? 47.349 is going to jump him to third, but it's not pole, DJ.
No, it is not. Chris Hunt here, another driver that's going to be trying to put a lap down here. He is one of 3 drivers that has yet to put a time down with Reisenberg and Minkler right now, as he works his way up through Butchers and the chicane.
Cross the line for Reinsberg, and that will jump him up to 19th. 29 cars here, so slightly larger field than what we saw before. Reinsberg's done, so that's why you see him kind of escaping off the track there pretty quickly. Down the railway straight and into the braking for Taylor's Leif Peterson in 14th. And, he's actually finished all 3 of his laps. So Leif Peterson also done with this. So instead, we switch back from Monk. That was Mario Gonzalez also done. See, Rich Minkler still needs to finish 2 of his laps, and this one's not going to be a good one because letting the tail wag, unfortunately, there.
Yeah, not the fastest way to get around a racetrack. The most stylish, perhaps, but not the fastest. Save that for the race when turns out being sideways around Knockhill is actually a great way to block.
Leave the wagging for the Scotty Dogs instead, as he heads down through Butchers and up and over the chicane. How is it? Looked pretty decent, although just about kicked up some dust on the exit. Will it remain clean for him? He's one of the last ones able to set a time, pushing it to the edge. He's down in 27th, and certainly needs some better time out here. But I say that 27th is 1.1 seconds off of the leader. That's right. Almost the entire field is within a second of our leader. And a 47.6 will be much faster. That's a top 10 for Rich Minkler. And is that the last of them? Let me double check. Yes, I believe it is. My goodness, DJ. 28 cars within 1.2 seconds.
Joe, I think we are in store for a fantastic race here as qualifying session officially comes to a close and we're ready to go racing.
Mike Holick is going to start on the pole once again. Matthew Siddall will be trying to challenge him this time. Christopher Pies meets again, but will try his best to do one better as he'll start from third. Amarim fourth and Banjapaje fifth. It's Travis Brody in the sixth spot. Fourth row has Jacob Schum and Trey Drawhorn. Then it's Glenn Dennis in ninth, and Rich Minkler we saw at the very end, DJ, qualify 10th.
Mickey Chan's going to be starting in 11th, followed by Daniel Rubel with Lyle Eddy and Chris Braun in 14th. Leif Peterson lines up 15th, followed by Charles Yao with Derek Cyphers and Joe Steeple behind them. Mario Gonzalez is 19th, and Steven Chen rounds out your top 20.
21st tonight is going to be Rick Reisenberg and Robert Lacroix in 22nd. Ogun Gural in 23rd, Ed Nelson 24th, Robert Cuttle in 25th, Ed Eisenring 26th, Dewey Kang 27th, Robert Rose 28th, and Chris Hunt 29th.
All we need is Rich Minkler to get out there. Certainly likes to be a little late here on these, as he was the last one to qualify, which he now plops his car onto the grid. The engines start to rev. What do the pros have in store as the lights come up? And the green flag is out. Siddall, is horrible off the line. He is going to lose second place almost immediately. Chris Pies is going to jump him down into Duffus Dip. Koholic is not even challenged. Trying to come back at Pies. Siddall wants that second spot. Almost three wide behind him. Now he's got Rafael Amram. Fantastic run by the red number 8 car up and over the crest. And he is into the podium, DJ.
Yeah, that was a great move there from Rafael Amarim. I was going to comment on how he was almost banging doors there with Saibal Banjo-Paje, and now he's able to move his way past Siddall, getting into that position. He's got his size eyes set on Chris Pies, and he's only about 0.3 of a second behind him.
So far, so good. I'm not seeing any major offs amongst our drivers. We did have a little bit of one with Dan Rubel. And now Banjo-Paje is the one with some issues.
Yeah, he's not having a great time right now. That really hurt him, I think. But, yeah, a lot of shuffling around here. These guys a little bit messy than we saw in the club race.
Yeah, there was a bit of an incident at the start where someone spun and took somebody else out, and then Banjo-Paje was all on his own, goosing it too hard out of Taylor's. Meanwhile, we were watching on board with Pies for a brief moment, chasing on Michael. Or excuse me, no, he's trying to keep Amarim behind him, rather. This is the number 8 here within a car length, and Siddall, almost, how did he not hit him? Holy cow, just about spun his rival around, but avoided disaster. Also gives up a lot of time, DJ, and now Brody is breathing down his neck.
Yeah, he is indeed, and Brody's bringing Jacob Schum along with him. There's Charles Yao back in 13th right now. This is really the first break in the field we get all the way around, and you can see there the VRUs are really leaning into the corners.
They take the chicane yet again. We jump backwards slightly, and back to the front once again. Amarim giving Pies a run for his money, and just about running off the track as well. Down towards Taylor's defensive move from the 14, just to cover him off slightly there, Rachel, just to play it safe.
Yeah, it really is, and it's going to be, I think, the opportunity right now to defend is going to be more beneficial than letting someone get through. Track position is huge, and if you can keep it for now, especially with the traffic, you will hurt the cars trying to pass in the long run, so it will be an advantage.
On board with Peterson. There is quite a tight little pack here between Braun, Chan, and Minkler. This is vying for 8th position. And if anybody makes any little bobble out here, they're going to see all of the cars behind them suddenly easily overtake. As we come back to Amarim once again, just will not let us relax and he's good under braking, but does not make a serious attempt at it. DJ tries to get on the throttle, but a little bit of spinning up the tires.
Yeah, just a little bit. And remember what we saw out of the last race, Joe? We saw a lot of calm, considerate driving early on. And then once it got a little bit further in, once these tires got a little bit worn, we started to see more mistakes getting made once mental fatigue started to set in. And so I think that's very similar to what you're going to see out of these pro drivers, just trying to keep as much pressure up behind as possible, not necessarily going for a move, but just force some mental fatigue out of the driver in front.
Towards the middle of the pack, this is Nelson chasing on Lacroix. He's also got Reinsberg just in front of them. Up into Clark Curve. The mid-pack has remained very, very tightly together here in this race, these first few minutes, as we come back to Pies once more, and Amarim seems able to get close, but can't get close enough. Something happened to Nicky Chan in the meantime. Rachel, I'm trying to figure out. I think he got collected in an accident in front of him.
Yeah, I think he did. Unfortunate there was something up ahead, which really just unfortunately unraveled that day. We'll see what happened here. Yeah, it was just right ahead of him. It was a stack up on the exit with Shim, yeah.
All starts with Shum, and then it almost carries on. Somebody gets shoved off course a little bit after the fact. And there you see another look at the incident. Give one more glance at this. There's Shum. And he looks like he got some help, DJ.
Yeah, just a little bit of a touch there from behind, and that little bit of contact is all you need on the cambering of that Taylor's corner. Very easy to spin it around like that as we jump back here with Amarim.
He's been glued to that rear bumper of the 14, but unfortunately for Pies, he's not been able to even get close to Kahalik. After the drop of the green, basically he's just scampered away. Oh my goodness. And you can't say, Rachel, that Raphael is not trying. He is using up all of the track and maybe a little more.
Yeah, last time I saw a car this wide in Scotland, it was carrying a lot of hay bales in the back of it. And it was a tractor. But he's doing his best to try and make that thing fit the entire width of this Knockhill circuit. And hey, power to you. Is one way to stop anyone passing you is that they can't get room.
Winkler once again, still in this long train. Braun in front of him. This goes up to Jacob Schum there in the sixth position. 56 is his number. We jump to Trey Drawhorn, who's second in the line there, 7th place. And then it gets to Braun that we saw a little bit earlier from onboard Minkler. And it goes all the way down to Leif Peterson, effectively, maybe even a little beyond that. They've got Cyphers, Yao, and Shannon there. And something happened to Stephen Chen. Looks like he had a bit of an off in the first couple corners. He returns without incident first. Oh, I think Drawhorn given a black flag for the contact with Schum.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. So he's going to come down pit lane, and he's signaled to the drivers around him that he will be doing so here. That's going to put him down, well down the order. He is in pit lane serving that penalty.
Unfortunate. So stewards did not like that one. But we come back to Pies and Amarim. This is the pressure cooker. You mentioned earlier, Rachel, how drivers really have to have the mental fortitude all the way from start to finish here. I cannot imagine being in Pie's shoes right now and having that red car breathing down his neck.
Yeah, it's a really tricky situation. Amarim is pushing now. He's really making this aggressive. And it's not like he's actually got an opportunity to be free here. Siddle is all over him too. So this is really a 3-car battle where every single one of them is involved. And yeah, if I'm Pies, I'm probably the most scared.
Well, the top spot on the top step on the podium looks pretty easy to predict, but the next two, man, it's a toss-up. I'm not sure who is going to be the strongest among these, because all of them have been mighty fast here in the PCA Sim Racing Series since we started covering it. So we head out of Clark Curve. It's all looking like DJ, he's not as strong as them, though. He's hanging a little farther back from Raphael than Amarim is from Pies.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily strategic, Joe, as if he sees the close contact there between the two of them, or the close running between the two of them, and if there's an incident, he wants to be able to avoid it, or if he just doesn't have the pace. I've been kind of keeping an eye on him, and to be honest, I can't connect it. I can't tell the difference.
We'll try and keep watching, see if maybe we get some clues as to what the strategy is, if he really is hustling or if he's just given some space. But up and over the chicane. Big jump there for Amarim once again, closing in. I almost wonder, as he spins the rears up coming off the turn there, Rachel. I wonder if Amarim has a little bit more brake bias in it.
Yeah, slightly more, because you do see that loose rear end is a little bit more loose, so I think he might actually have that. It will make him a little bit more easy to rotate in the middle of the corner, which I think is why he's doing so well.
Well, that time he wasn't as strong, and Siddall catches up to him. You can see the gaps kind of switching around. Raphael farther away from Pies. Is this the moment that the 18 has been waiting for? And they can't dilly-dally either, because Travis Brody is about 2 seconds down the road from them, so he could catch up if they do start battling. And this time Amarim took a little bit of a more serious work, as we're going to watch the battle from Brody's perspective.
Yeah, indeed. You can see that dust getting kicked up there as all three of those drivers pushing to the absolute limits, to the point there that car off to the right, that is Chris Pies feeling the need to go defensive on Amarim. I think he felt that he had a bad run there out of Clark and really needed to hold that.
Yeah, it seemed like Raphael was on his best run yet after he'd backed off a little bit. Maybe he needs to take note of that. Wonder if that actually helped him slightly, just getting that space to the car in front. But now they're all pretty much nose to tail, all three of them. And they'll go through the chicane once again. And once again, very strong. Maybe to the inside of Clark. Amarim has a tiny little bit of overlap. He's going to absolutely chuck the car in. He's given space. And it looks like Raphael Amarim is now your second place driver, Rachel.
Oh, huge move there. Big respectful racing between Pies and Amarim there. But Amarim really found opportunity. He just worked his nose in there like a crowbar and just started pulling.
And what I say about Brody, look at this. He is right there now. It has been cut down massively just from that one move between the three of them. And this means that Chris Pies really has to watch out, because if he loses one, it might become two pretty quickly. I'm sure Brody is hungry.
Yeah, we know that there is speed in that 020 machine. We have seen Travis really be aggressive at different points over the course of the season, and so he is going to be hungry to try to close in on Siddall. And now for Pies here, he's going to have to change his mentality a little bit, because he no longer just has to look behind him. He's got to look both ahead and behind, as Siddall is definitely hassling the back of that number 14.
So Matthew is down 2 from where he began this race. He wants to get at least one of them back, and he's getting close to being able to do so. Amarim, on the other hand, is up 2. It's Koholik and Pies that are back where they began when the green dropped. And looks like Siddall is getting ever closer each corner, just starting to apply that pressure to the number 14 wherever he can. And it was here that he wasn't as strong, was Chris, but this time he looks solid, Rachel, so no repeat move there from Matthew.
Yeah, no, he definitely looks a lot stronger. Siddall is on the attack here. He saw what Amarim could do, and I think he's heartened by it. He thinks he can go for Pies here and make this one stick as well.
Well, because we mentioned the gap between the last car in qualifying and the lead car in qualifying was incredibly small. It took until now for the leader to actually catch the back of the field to lap them. And that is going to be Robert Cottle. But we're going to look at Stifle in the mid-pack instead. This is a three-way fight. He's got Chan and Jiao in front of him.
Yes, indeed, he does. Battles up and down this field. Nicky Chan trying to hold on to that to the best that he can, with Yao holding off Nicky Chan, and I'm a little bit surprised at that.
Sounds like we've had another retirement. Daniel Rubel is out of the race now. That's a little bit sad. Didn't even get to make the halfway point. Banjapaje is going to make an early pit stop. Nope, Banjapaje is going to serve a black flag, is what is going to happen with a 770. As Chabal had the penalty given by the stewards a little bit earlier. We continue to watch from on board here as they ride up the hill, as we jump off to the cameras on TV, and Charles Yao holds that desirable track position over Nicky Chan, who I'm sure will eventually want to get a move on here, Rachel.
Yeah, I think Nicky Chan does want that spot as well. Charles Yao pushing with what he can here. It's going to be a tough one for him, though, because it's going to be Chan very aggressive behind him, gaining time here, really pushing this thing forwards.
A lot of drivers have looked aggressive, but not overly aggressive. Yes, we've had some black flags, but haven't seen really too many wild moves out of drivers, just maybe some unfortunate incidents. Is looking to the inside. Will he manage to actually get Chan? Nope. Looks like Joe was a little too far back on that one. And they'll return to the start-finish straight to now start on lap 18 out of what will be roughly 50 here today. Still don't think we've seen anybody take a scheduled stop. Trey Drawhorn has been in, but I'm pretty sure that was due to a black flag. So we're waiting to see who will pit when. And I love that angle there, DJ, low to the ground, just showing you the cars fly over the crest.
Yeah, you can really see just how much speed you've got to carry through here to be fast and being aggressive around this place. You know, when we talked to some of the drivers on Wednesday, they really talked about how the only way to be quick around here is to absolutely attack and to be driving at the absolute limit. The 000 there of Nicky Chan looking pretty close coming into Taylor's. I'd definitely be looking in my rearview mirror if I was Charles Yao.
Got some slipstream, but I don't think this is going to be enough. And are my eyes deceiving me? Does Yao have a little bit of damage on the nose? It looks like the splitter maybe, Rachel.
I think it could have been curb contact, because sometimes you get ghost issues, of course, let's not forget, with iRacing, where it might show some damage, but there isn't actually any there. But if there is, it will be most likely from one of those curbs.
Yeah, I think it is. It looks like the right front, probably a curb strike at some point. And Ed Nelson, in the meantime, down in 16th, just behind them. In the middle of a 5-car group, Gonzalez leads it. Lacroix in front of him. Weinsberg's behind him, and Eddie is the caboose. Defensive move down to the inside from Gonzalez, and Yao actually might be able to, or Lacroix might be able to out-accelerate him. Well, Yao's going to try and out-accelerate 2 cars because he's been overtaken, not just by Chan, but here comes Stifle down to the inside, and it is 2 down in a single straightaway, DJ.
Indeed, and that was all set up just by a little bit of brake lockup as we've got a side-by-side battle here in the back.
That was the one I was just talking about when we had to switch over to the other battle. Nelson, Gonzalez, and they will be wanting to catch up to Lacroix in front of them, but he is just skittering away as quick as he can. And a lot of curb there through Clark for the 777. Does Nelson have anything for him? No, that looks a little too far back.
Yeah, I think he does, just not quite in attack range here. There's a little bit of a relaxed attempt around the outside there, but it's not going to come to anything. It was a look, but it wasn't going to be a useful look as we come across the start finish line yet again here on board with Brody. The Palmetto region started in 6th, and Brody is currently up to 5th place, up 1 for him so far, but it is not a huge climb. He's not really caught up as much as we thought to Siddle.
That's Coddle that's just letting them by, so that's a lapped car. And speaking of red cars, though, Amorim, a full 3.5 seconds away from Pies. He was definitely being held up, and he knew it. He made a very aggressive move to get that pass done, and I think it paid off in the end, DJ. Unfortunately, it looks like the damage was kind of done. He's already about 10 seconds behind Koholik.
Yeah, but he hasn't really let that gap extend here at this point. I think if Amorim had been able to get that pass done a little bit earlier, he would have been able to hold it in, but Koholik just having track position here at this point is going to lead on in this race, but he is going to have some lap traffic that he'll have to deal with here shortly.
Yeah, the geodesic drivers already lapped Eisenring, Kang, Coddle, Hunt, and Banjapaje, so he certainly had a few. And oh, this is almost to the point where they're going to start touching through that corner, having to be so close to each other, Rachel. Siddall wants it desperately, but he just can't get the run.
No, just can't find the opportunity there to get through. And it's so sad to see that when you really know you've got the opportunity, but you just can't find a door. You get so frustrated.
And we had a black flag for Nicky Chan. Looks like he turned Chris Hunt, who is a car he was lapping. And that's a bit of a shame, as Nicky was looking at potentially a top 10, but that's going to slip through his fingers now, having to serve that one. So 21 minutes left to go, just about at the halfway point, DJ. We've got a replay, I guess, on the incident here.
Yeah, this was Hunt coming out of the pits, tried to stay out of the way. Nicky Chan just blew that first corner there down through Duffus Dip a little bit and ran into the side of Hunt, and the stewards taking a little bit of a dim view of that maneuver.
That's understandable, yeah. The racing line does go into that pit exit, and I've seen so many do it, Rachel, but you don't have the right of way to just barge someone over.
No, when a car's actually using pit road, you shouldn't be in it. Yeah, they all do it, but you need that line exists not for them to not just put out from pit road, but also for you to not cut across as they're coming out.
This is still Pies trying to stay ahead of Siddall. We've also got a huge train starting to form. Charles Yao has Nelson, Gonzalez, Reinsberg, Eddie, and Lacroix starting to stack up and looking like something's going to burst here, DJ.
Yeah, this is going to be a massive inflection point in this race. We've got to see what happens here, and I think this could be what forces a couple of these drivers to come down pit lane, trying to avoid this situation. We've talked about that as a way to try to get by. We'll have to see if anybody does it here now that we've hit the halfway point.
Well, down into the braking for turn one. Charles continues to try and hold his own. Hasn't been flawless, lost a couple spots before with Stifle and Chan getting by, but Chan had a penalty, so he inherits one back. And up towards Clark Curve, that is Nelson in the gray machine. It is getting a little frighteningly close for comfort. In fact, he could have a run here, Rachel.
He absolutely could, and this could be a real opportunity for that driver. So you have to be really, really cautious with this, because you might have to run, but you have to find the right time to set it up. Here is not a good chance. Into turn one might be, but he has to really work for this. Closing up is one thing. Passing here, though, is an entirely different beast.
Just a little too far back now. Looks like Mario Gonzalez in the middle of that pack is going to pit in, so he is going to abandon and see if he can get some clear road. And Trey Drawhorn is also pitting as well, as it looks like we have now lost Chris Hunt, but we come back to Matthew Siddall, just stuck here in fourth, off the podium, has been off since very early in the race, DJ.
Yeah, he has, but he is fighting Chris Pies, and Pies held up a little bit there by Gonzalez and Kang directly up ahead of him. That could be a little bit of a boon here for Matthew Siddall if he's able to pounce on this. I do have to say they've got about a second back to Travis Brody here at this point, so a little bit of breathing room for these two.
Oh, my goodness. And, yeah, that was horrible timing for Gonzalez. Well, more so for Pies. Great stuff. Love that from Gonzalez. That's very sportsmanlike. He did not have to give that time up, but he elected to make sure that others can have a fair fight, and that actually cost him time to Drawhorn. I always get his names confused there. The 395 is going to jump up a couple more spots, having able to take advantage of that traffic, Rachel.
Yeah, exactly. And taking advantage of traffic here is our big thing we talk about when it comes to the pit window. It is your biggest opportunity. When you pit, can really clear your road, or it can gang you up in traffic. And if you get stuck for too long in traffic, it might be advantageous to go for that early pit, to jump in and get out of the way of it, as this traffic here is terrible. It's so difficult to pass. You really, really, really want to make sure you manage that clean out.
Yeah, this is Kang that they're trying to go by, and that's Brody that Schum is trying to chase, putting wheels into the grass even to try and get through, but thankfully does not lose the car in front of them. That also checked up Pies quite a bit, to the point that Siddall almost had a chance at it, but couldn't use it to his gain, at least for now. Schum's still hanging tough. This, honestly, I almost wonder, DJ, if this means that guys like Brody, Schum, is Braun close enough? Yeah, Braun could maybe try and vie for the podium here.
I think it's certainly possible. It really looks like Chris Pies is the cork in the bottle here at this point. And so if they're able to jump up by him and Pies falls down maybe in the pit stop cycle or whatever it may be, we could see this really start to take off.
Back up the front stretch. Any of them going to duck in this time? Try and get away from this mess? No, nobody in this group is willing to blink yet. And we've still got 16 cars left on the lead lap. Trey Drawhorn is our highest driver to have pitted, and he is in the midst of this group. He is in that 395 machine that you see just behind in the gray car. So he is not in this battle right now. He's finished his pit stop and just wants to try and run his own race. So down the railway straight. Things keep bubbling up here, Rachel. I keep feeling like something's going to happen, and yet they keep holding station.
Yeah, and if something happens here, it's going to be a monumental explosion. I think if we do have something come to head, it might be in the Amarin Pies Siddle Brody group. That could be one of our opportunities. But it could also happen around Stiffel, Yao, Nelson, and Eddie. That could also be one of our hot topic areas, so we have to keep our eyes on those.
No doubt. And down through Butchers, through the chicane, up and over, leaping the wheels over the curbs. As Siddall just hovers behind in the rearview mirror of Chris Pies. Credit to Drawhorn. He has not dropped off of them. He's got pace. It's just his early pit stop is what has put him a lap down to these leaders. So he should get promoted pretty highly up once he's done with that. Anybody in? No, nobody pits in once again from this group. And 15 minutes left. I'm pretty certain that means about 5 to 7 minutes, and you should be almost everybody electing to finally pit. I think Eddie might be able to make a pass on Yao, or at least he just tried it down in 12th place, and he's got a good run coming up the main straight.
He's certainly going to have a little bit of a look at it as they go around, but it's keeping our eyes here on Siddall, trying to see what he can do. It doesn't look like he's trying to be aggressive here, Joe. It just looks like he's hassling. That's the best word I can give right now. Ooh, is that a little? Nope, I thought maybe there for a second Pies was going to come down pit lane.
And I can report that Eddie did get by Charles Yao. So that puts Lyle up into 12th position. Nicely done by him. This train has got to be such a source of frustration for these drivers, especially if they're caught behind one of those lapped cars that have already taken their pit stop. Reinsberg now your highest driver to have pitted just in front of them. Are they going to collect even more? I really think, Rachel, if you're in this group, pit now.
Yeah, get out of the way of trouble. Go in now, get off pit road, and just do something else, because this is clearly not working for them. Why would you stay in this with the window open to get into clean air? Unless there isn't clean air on the other side of this window.
And Pies is listening. He goes in. Siddall stays out. And it looks like Chris Braun is in. Nobody else. So 2 takers to try and avoid the mess. Will it pay off? Will they come out in clear air, DJ?
Well, the question here is going to be if they are able to come out in clear air, and now for Matthew Siddall, if he is able to go into full push mode here, he's got a little bit of lap traffic that he's going to have to deal with up ahead of him. That's going to be Robert Lacroix and Ed Nelson that he'll have to get by, but he needs to put down some stonking lap times if he wants to get by Nicky Chan.
Oh, bad news if you're Siddall. Pies is absolutely out in clear air. There is nobody in front of him, so he can start to push and go as fast as he wants. Will he see some response from those stuck in that line as they come by the start-finish line? No, still nobody with their heads up except for Schum. Schum is pitting in from 5th, Rachel.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are going to have anybody who's spotting for them, if they have one. Take a look at this. Where's he coming out? Where's he coming out? What's he doing? They'll be keeping an eye on where they're going to put into this field, but I think one of the big factors is you're going to have to be really lucky to hit those pockets of clean air, because a lot of this track is very congested with cars.
And Ooh, Schum came out ahead of Chris Braun. In fact, Schum is only about a second behind Chris Pies. I'm pretty sure he gained time in that exchange. Brilliantly done by the 56. We continue to watch it all. Still waiting to see whether or not he has been watching and if he responds. And the answer is no. Siddall's lap a 48 flat. Let's see, what has Pies been running? In fact, we won't find out until this time by. This will be the first flying lap for Chris.
Yeah, indeed. And remember, no tires getting taken here, Joe. So it's all just down to simple lap time as they continue to go here. Siddall, I would have thought he would have been able to get by Lacroix a little bit more, but just not seeming to be able to do it. And that could be harming his overall lap time. That could harm him in that battle he was having with Chris Pies.
Ooh, well, it looks like Pies was 2/10 slower that time by, considering how close they've been all race long. That's not good news. But now Siddall is having to overtake the lap traffic. Lacroix getting out of the way, compromising his lap greatly. And behind him, it's Drawhorn, who is actually battling for position. So no wonder Robert didn't want to give up too much time, because he didn't want to have to actually give up a spot in that exchange, which he thankfully did not in the end. So that time by for Siddall was a 48.4, definitely a lot slower. Pies, a 47.9, Rachel.
Yeah, that's definitely moving. That is a good lap. Wow, yeah, really pushing this up now. He's up at least a couple of tenths there, which will be a huge advantage for him in terms of that lap position. That's a great decision to go.
Oh, we had an incident for Kahalik. We need to get a replay. Pitting in, there was a lapped car trying to pit at the same time, but Cottle was slow and he ran into him. Now, good news is Michael should have a spare car, but here is the incident, so he should be able to come out with a clean machine. But how much time did he lose, DJ?
All right, well, let's see just how much it is. There's Cottle up ahead of him. And, Kahalik really hauling the mail down into pit lane. And that is going to be damage to the front of the car. He will get it repaired. I don't think he lost all that much, because by the time he got down to that speed, they were both on the pit speed limiter.
And he had a slightly longer stop than a lot of his rivals, 8.1 seconds. But he had such a gap. I think he should be okay. Crisis averted here, Rachel, but that was heart-in-your-throat stuff.
It's tight, yeah. It got super close, but they managed to make it, I think, without any real trouble, which is exactly what you'd want to have happen here. But, oh gosh, yeah. There's times where you want to get some drama, and there's times where you don't, and that's this point of the race, last quarter.
Another 48.6 out of Siddall, and Amram gets promoted now up back into third as Brody has pit. Minkler has pit. So he just needs Siddall to take his fuel, and he'll wind up back in second where he was comfortably before the pit stop sequence began. Brody is going to return in seventh ahead of Peterson. Minkler back in ninth behind Peterson. So we're starting to get a better picture of how this all shakes out, DJ.
All right, we are just waiting on Siddall here to really come down pit lane. That's a driver off. That's Steven Chen in the background, who is off into the kitty litter.
And Matthews in. Finally, the 18 pits with only 8 minutes left on the clock. Where will he be in relation to Pies? That's the $90,000 question. And a 47.9 last time by. Very consistent laps for Pies and his clean air. He has made brilliant use of this. Siddall is moving, but Pies is by, and the margin is much larger than it was before. In fact, Schum gets ahead of him. Braun, it is 2 positions lost instead for the 18 car, Rachel.
Oh, that's massive. That's not what they needed at all. Really going for this thing, but no, you don't want to see that happening.
And that's just the 2 positions there. Remember, he lost the 2 early in the race, down 4 from the front row. This, I wouldn't call it a disaster, DJ, but Siddall has thrown away what surely was looking like a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. It's not a disaster. It's certainly a disappointment here for Matthew Siddall, just getting caught out by that lap traffic. Now, the good news is he has got a clean track ahead of him to try to close in on Chris Brown in these final 7 minutes and 30 seconds. But as Rachel said before, catching is one thing, passing is another.
Well, we are down to 11 drivers left on the lead lap. Stifles the last one in the 003. We're watching Schum, who has got to be pinching himself right now, thinking, I'm fourth. I'm actually even close to a potential podium, because Pies is getting held up by Charles Yao, who is a lapped car, but Charles is not battling with anybody. He's going to pull out of the way. Nice heads up there from the 17. So that should save a headache for Pies.
Yeah, should really help him there. Pies laps have been looking fantastic, of course, since this happened. Take a look at his last one. 48.7. He is hammering this thing now, and he has managed to get a great position on the racetrack. He has, I believe, got clean air right all the way ahead of him. Cars behind him filter through, but it's just really, really huge advantage.
Yeah, about 7/10 slower than what he was typically doing before the traffic caught him. Also want to give a lot of credit to Braun there in the 258, up 9 spots here to get a top 5. But it's out of the frying pan into the fire for the 14, because he unfortunately has shaken one driver away only to be hounded by yet another. And in fact, it's now 2 of them that look mighty fast here at the end, that are very hungry for a good finish.
Yeah, indeed, they are. What the best thing that can happen here for Chris Pies, though, is that Chris Braun wants to try to make a move on Jacob Schum. If those two start to battle a little bit, that can drop them back from Chris Pies and buy him just a little bit of time. But right there, it certainly looks like Jacob Schum has got one heck of a line coming down through McIntyre.
Holding on to him, coming through the chicane. He's not going to put himself in attacking position here. Oh, look at him cane up into Clark, though, just about shoving him around the right-hander. Don't need to go to it, but I want to give a quick mention to Lee Peterson, up 8 positions in the 913. So he is looking at a very well-earned 7th here today. The 56, who is up 3, wants just one more, wants to spray the champagne this evening.
Yeah, he really wants the opportunity to celebrate, and it's been a phenomenal run. This race has really been a measure of patience and perfection. It's about having to keep yourself as clean as you can on this track that will punish even the slightest error. But we've seen some stellar drives. I've got to say, Ron Amarims has been one of the best we've seen today.
I have to agree. I think he has earned that 2nd place. But coming around there through the railway straight, will we see Pies be 3rd, Schum be 3rd, or Braun be 3rd? Amram already had a surprise victory back at Summit Point after a controversial finish that Pies was a part of, taking Kahalik out on the last lap to try and claim the victory, unintentionally, mind you. Just hard racing, unfortunately. And the win got gifted to the 8 as he was the next one down after a penalty was handed to Pies for the contact. So Pies, will he once again find himself falling off the podium for the 2nd time in 3 races? He's certainly dealing with it well. He dealt with it well during the middle part of the race, having a train of cars behind him. And we take a look at Derek Cyphers. I just realized he's got a Rust Ease logo on the front of that machine here, sitting in 10th, and he's working on Rich Minkler.
Yeah, about 0.5 of a second behind Minkler. He'd like to close that up a little bit more, and he's lucky he's got a big old gap to Joe Steeple there behind him to the tune of about 13 seconds, so he can really just focus up the road here at this point. Doesn't need to be worrying about anything that's going on behind him.
Brave with the curbs, just bounding over the tall, bright orange sausage curbs that line the apexes here, using them as much as he can. These are pretty pliable cars at many tracks. Don't need to keep them super stiff and can make good use of that suspension travel. Meanwhile, continue to keep an eye here on Pies. He's got some lap traffic in the form of Geralp just in front of him. Might catch him around the last lap, if not a couple before here, Rachel. And he'll really, really want to catch him on either the back or the front stretch, I got to imagine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly where you want to get someone. It sets you up best for a possible pass into those 2 real opportunities we have here at Knockhill, but it's going to be if you can get there, because it might be a short lap, but it might as well be the longest.
I'm sure he's nervous. I'm sure that even as cool as he can be sometimes, he's got to be sweating a bit knowing how hard he's worked just to get a third place. Sure, he'd love it to be a win, but great there from Orgun, who is going to let all three of them through. Very heads-up driving from him. And we come down to 3 laps to go here.
We sure do, Joe, and there is your leader who has looked absolutely untouchable here. Michael Kahalik working his way around Joe Stiefel there, and that is going to be him on the outside. Stiefel not exactly giving him the easy way by.
Now he lifts and lets him through. That leaves only 10 cars left on the lead lap. And that marks, I believe, 2 to go that time by. It was a little close, but it should be 2 to go for Kahalik.
Yeah, looking at our timing, I think it will be just about 2. At least 2, I think we have this time by, so shouldn't be a long time left.
If it is an extra one, you might be able to stretch the fuel to go that one more, but hopefully you've been saving for some time. Not sure if you could do it when it's sputtering to the line with what you were expecting to be the checkers. And Kahalik comes around. Laps have been about 48 seconds here towards the end. And yes, it is 1 to go officially as he crosses the line. And what will Pies have to do to try and retain this podium position on one more circuit around?
Well, he's got a little bit of breathing room himself for him built right now. 0.8 of a second between himself and Jacob Schum as they dive down into Taylor's right now. So he's at least going to have some space to be able to take it, but he doesn't want to take any chances, Joe.
Yeah, it's a lot safer now than what we witnessed before for him. So we keep the eyes on Michael Kahalik. What a class act here today. Just came in, put in a great time, started to stretch away, and never let anybody hassle him. Your winner here for the Pro Class for the second time this season, it is going to be Michael Kahalik.
Stunning drive by Kahalik. In fact, a redemption one considering the troubles he had in that infamous race there with Pies. But I think the big thing today is Amram. That, as much as our winner is a wonderful thing, second place to Amram, biggest battler of this whole race, absolute class act.
And Pies will manage a third place in the end. Schum, great jump up to 4th, but Braun, man, I'm sure he is celebrating, having gone 9 positions up for a top 5. And Travis Brody, for some reason, fallen behind there at the end, wound up 2 positions down with that 8th place. And the last of them cross the start-finish line. So here's your finishing order for this pro race. Michael Kahalik is going to be your winner. Rafael Amram managing to make a few passes to get himself second, and Pies withstanding everybody trying to steal that third place, but never giving up and finishing on the podium. Schum was 4th with Braun in 5th. After that, Matthew Siddall was 6th, falling from the front row. Love to know what happened, if he has anything that he could enlighten us with in the chat. Leif Peterson was 7th, and then Travis Brody was 8th. After that, it's Rich Minkler in 9th and Derek Cyphers in 10th.
In 11th, it was Joe Stiefel there, the first car a lap down, followed by Ed Nelson and Rick Reisenberg, with Trey Drawhorn in 14th and Robert LaCroix in 15th. 16th was Lyle Eddy, followed by Dewey Kang and Organ Garalp in 18th. Robert Rose was 19th, and Ed Eisenring rounds out your top 20.
21st tonight was Nicky Chan with Charles Yao, 22nd. Mario Gonzalez there in 23rd, Stephen Chen 24th. Unfortunate end for him there. Robert Cottle in 25th. Bandia Pardy is in 26th. Chris Hunt 27th. Daniel Rubel 28th. And Glenn Dennis 29th.
That's going to take us to our winner for today's race, Michael Kahalik, who ran in the number 23 from the pole to the victory. And Michael, they say around here that you really have to keep focused because it's such a short and narrow track. Apparently, that applies to the pit entry too. Tell us about what happened there.
I need to go back and look at how fast the other driver was going. I think, I did a lot of practice for this track, and part of it was pit entries. And, I thought he was going to be going a little bit faster, and I got a little touchy there, but we both continued, so it's okay.
It looked like really the only drama that you had in this race. Otherwise, you seemed to just steadily pull away. Does that seem accurate, or we miss any other big moments?
I think if Raphael had had a better qualifying, I think he would have stayed right behind me. But once he got caught up with Chris, the gap started growing, and that was that. But once he got past Chris again, really early on, he was pacing me, and I was keeping an eye on it.
We have to ask because we've been noticing it behind the scenes here, and we can kind of see on some of the cameras. You've got what we can see as Nick Cage on your helmet. Is there a story behind this?
Oh, I'm so glad you guys finally noticed that. Yeah, at my old team, Neon Racing, shout out Eric, Sean, and Max. We wanted to make a funny helmet for one of the races, and the first iteration of this helmet was horrendous. It's a horror show. It's Nicolas Cage, but it looks terrible. And so I made a second version. And yeah, now we got Nicolas Cage, and it says I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence on the top of it too.
Was that Sean Campbell by any chance?
Yes, sir. You might know him.
Yes, we've seen him on another broadcast with a similar, V1 that you described. So.
Yep, I'm the one that made that. Yep.
The mystery has been solved. Well, thanks for coming to chat with us. Anybody you want to thank for today's win?
Yeah, my mom, again, Brian, the guys back at Geo, Wave Italy, Omologato, SimLab. Oh, I don't have my sponsor thing ready. I'm exhausted right now. Just everybody, thank you so much. And you guys for putting on these broadcasts.
That's understandable. It looked like that took a lot of focus, as that was our winner in the number 23, Michael Koholik. DJ has caught up with Raphael Amorim. Let's see if it was just having to make those passes that cost him a chance.
I was going to say, Raphael, not enough, it looked like, to be able to close in on Koholik. Do you think you had the speed for him if you didn't have to try to charge there up at the beginning?
Yeah, I think he was still faster. I think it would have been close, but I think he still would come P1. He was just so fast here, and not only he was fast, but he was very consistent. He was able to very consistently turn like low 47s, while I just couldn't. So I think he had the pace on me. It was a good race. I'm pretty happy with P2. I didn't qualify that well, so to be finishing P2 feels pretty great.
Well, talk me through those first couple of laps, because you were side by side there right at the beginning with Badio Page, and then being able to make the move on Chris Pies and Matthew Sedal. Were you just in full attack mode having that bad qualifying?
So that's a tough one, especially first lap with cold tires. I was trying to be careful. I was trying to use any opportunities and any openings that I had, but thinking long term, thinking about the whole race. So I kind of got lucky there and past Matthew, and I was just hanging behind Chris for a little bit, trying to get a feel for our pace and find a window and opportunity to pass him. It's just so difficult to pass here, and it wasn't really worth to push a whole lot more and kind of ruin both of our races.
Well, it's going to be a little bit easier to pass next time out at Monza. Is that a track you're looking forward to, or are you dreading that first chicane?
I kind of am, but unfortunately, I'm going to miss this next race. I'm actually going to be in Scotland, so it's going to be interesting now that we just had this race here. But we'll miss the next one. We'll miss Monza. We'll be back for the last one, but we'll be watching and looking forward to the great battles.
Well, we're looking forward to it as well, Raphael. But anybody you'd like to thank for the run here today?
Well, as always, you guys at Podium, all of the PCA drivers, this is, I have a ton of fun. I keep coming back to this, and it's one of the highlights of the week. So I just wanted to thank everyone that participates and makes it so great. And last, as always, I'd like to thank my wife.
Well, thank you and congratulations again. That was Raphael Amorim, your second place finisher here today. And Rachel, I believe you've caught up with the mega defender, Chris Pies.
I have indeed. Mr. Pies, that was a busy race for you.
Yeah, I didn't get much of a... I thought it was going to be a nice little Sunday drive, but it was not. It was like rush hour, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it. You had to get your flap on a little bit there because things got a little bit messy, but I think the pit cycle, you managed to pick the right time to go in and get clean air.
Yes, exactly. We were coming up on some lap traffic, and they were all nose to tail for position. And I knew, even if I got by one of them, I wasn't going to get by 3 of them. So I picked a good time to pit. And by the time I came out, I think the person who was behind me Matthew was nowhere to be seen, so I made up some time on him. But yeah, it was. I got a little skittish once going through the chicane, and then from that point forth, I was slow through it just to try to not make a mistake. And luckily, I was able to keep it together. But that was probably the most intense race I've done in the Cup car so far.
So, as an American driver in a GT car here, what is this Knockhill track like for you guys to come to? Because it's a very kitsch in UK track, like quite a few of the ones in this country. How different does this Porsche behave here?
Oh, it's super different. This track really caters to somebody that can improvise. The car is not going to do the same thing over the same corner over and over, lap after lap. So the person that has really good car control is really going to excel here. And hey, my hat's off to both Rafael and Michael for first and second place. They did an awesome job. But it reminds me of Mid Ohio, and that's a track I love here in the U.S. It's just a very small Mid Ohio. Let's put it that way.
You know what? That's the best comparison for Knockhill I've ever heard, I think. And on that bombshell, before we let you go, Chris, anybody you'd like to shout out or thank?
Oh, thank you guys for putting on this great broadcast every week. And thanks for all the competitors driving. I've just been amazed and proud to see the field, not just in the pro class, but across all the classes, be absolutely full. And it warms my heart to see PCA Sim Racing alive and well.
And on that fantastic note, I will pass it back to my boys in the booth. Chris Byers, thank you for talking to us. Third place tonight.
Thank you, Rachel.
Ooh, what a week it has been, but it has been a pleasant surprise as we all came in kind of expecting a bit of chaos around this tiny track, and we wound up with some fantastic fun and intense, respectful racing all around. So kudos to all the drivers this week here in PCA Sim Racing. However, we'll see you next time at Monza at 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, May 4th, live here on Podium Esports. And a big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Rachel, Brian, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this would be possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and Sean Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.